doing very well on that front. But the meeting in Doha is going to be perhaps important, perhaps not. We're going to find out. But we're winning militarily. It's almost won militarily, I would say. And it's really very simple. It's the denuclearization of Iran. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And they've agreed to that.
Stocks are climbing right now. Oil is staying put as shipping through the Strait of Hormuz recovers faster than expected. And today, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, they are wrapping up their best quarters in 6 years. So, Charlie, I made this argument yesterday. There are many who say Trump's got to finish the job. What is this dancing around the issue? All these meetings, they're not getting anywhere. And I thought to myself, even though I tend to agree with that view, he really doesn't have to. The stock market isn't pushing him to do it. Bond yields aren't pushing him, and neither are oil prices. He can push this diplomatic route as long as he needs to.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. I have a real hard time saying something's a success just because stocks are up. I mean, particularly something like this complicated. We don't know a lot here. We don't know if Iran has a permanent put on oil going through the Strait of Hormuz, which, adds another $10, $15 a barrel on everything that goes through. It is what it is. If they still have the ability to throw drones, if they still are that equipped militarily, then this is a waste of time. Then we didn't win. And then, yes, oil prices will go down, but then the objective was not met. And by the way, President Trump won't be the first president to say, oh, yeah, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon under my watch. And then they keep figuring out ways to build one. So I would just say that this is to be determined big time. It's saying that they're destroyed and look at the markets. I think that's a very myopic way of looking at it. I think.
Well, I didn't just say that look at the markets. I'm saying they can continue diplomatic conversations to try to find a solution. They can continue to build
nuclear weapons or keep the dust or drones factories. I mean,
well, he said that won't happen, and that if he has to go a different route, that he will pivot.
But it is happening because they're throwing drones at us. And by the way,
that's always going to be the case. But if you look at the drone technology, it's not so easy to
it's not the case if we really did destroy them. And we haven't yet.
Okay, we haven't yet. One of the issues, Jerry, on the table, I want to bring in another fresh voice here, is this idea of the Strait of Hormuz and the fact that Iran's trying to control it, tolls. The president has said there are going to be no tolls there. That's not how this is going to work. But to Charlie's point, the issue about the Strait was open before this. The issue was nuclear weapons, and somehow the Strait then became the focus. And to me, it seems like they have a little bit of a one-up, causing trouble there, which does obviously impact oil prices. And now you've got this toll issue, which was never an issue before.
Yeah, so the knock-on effects of the Strait of Hormuz are huge, and huge not just for us and American consumers, which is what I care about, but huge for the entire planet. And to the degree that we can find other ways to get oil out, great. But it is a stumbling block, and I would say, this is something all eyes are on. However, you're right. Oil prices have come down, and I was just going to share some gas prices because I'm focused, as I said, on consumers. A month ago, regular unleaded, $4.36 a gallon, current $3.85, coming down. Now, the last time we had the big markers on consumers and how they're doing, retail sales, numbers like that, employment, we had a really good month. But now we're waiting for June, and it'll be interesting to see what the June numbers show us. We had a weak JOLTS report today. The Case-Shiller numbers are starting to get interesting about housing prices. We see some weakness there growing. So hopefully this gets resolved soon. And I would like to see it get resolved with the nuclear issue resolved. Yes. That's my sort of drop dead issue.
Also my drop dead issue. And I've been saying, Lou, on this program frequently that to me, and you all know my story, that I was born here, but my mother came to this country from Iran. And so my perspective of looking at this is a little bit different than other people. For me, I look at this regime and any twisted amalgamation of it and say it is still the same. You can't negotiate with these people. You can't trust them. And so you will never solve the nuclear issue as long as you're dealing with them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I wasn't coming at you on the drone issue. I think
Yeah.
this was the key thread in the read-through here is that we're always going to have to mistrust them. If it's not drones, it's going to be something else. They've shown time and time again, anytime we saw or thought we had progress on nuclear, we're back at it, right? They're not stopping. There's nothing.
Why are we
stop them.
negotiating?
Agreed. I agree with you that. I think you need to take a definitive stance. But to Jackie's point, you have the cover and the time and the permission to negotiate and try and be diplomatic because nothing else in the world is out of whack.
We're
going to be doing it. My point is this: we're going to be doing it forever. Whatever the new regime that comes in, I just don't think.
I don't think
we can.
so.
I mean, it's kind of, well.
Not if we.
Let me ask you this:
Not if we destroyed all their.
China. Do you trust China after 97 trade deals with them? Right?
I trust them more than I trust the mullahs.
But we still have to trust but verify, right?
But yeah, but they're not like, I don't think China just yet is murdering people.
Yeah.
No. I'm not.
I mean, they do some bad stuff with the Uyghurs. I get it, but we're talking apples and oranges here. The one thing I would say is this, and maybe this is the end game, and this would be a smart move, but I don't know. None of us really know. Is this all this delay? Because this is all BS. I mean, they're not gonna give us anything. They're not gonna agree to anything substantial. Is all this delay essentially to keep oil prices low for now? To make sure there's an alternative routes of distributing oil from that area, not using the Straits of Hormuz or whatever, and maybe the Republicans get through the midterms,
right?
And then he finishes the job. That would be the only logic, in my view, of this BS, because this is nonsense.
Sagan brought that up yesterday.
We're literally having the same conversation we had today, that we had last week, that we had last time I was on the show, because I was out for a while. We had the same conversation.
But my question is, what does finishing the job look like? I mean, I understand the nuclear ambitions, and I agree with you. They
like steaks.
We kind of started
it. They like good food over there.
Well, we
should start whacking out their infrastructure.
Oh goodness, I don't. Well, I say it however you want, but I think there is a question to be said about trust but verify. How do we know that all the dust is gone? How do we know that we've destroyed all their capabilities? Their military is degraded, but how far are we willing to go to make sure that is mission accomplished? In some ways, I just am not sure that we have the appetite here in America for.
Well, that's another story.
Boots on the ground. We don't want forever wars. How much military engagement do we want? Are we ready to pay for? So when you think about the alternative of, finishing the job, maybe. Just taking a diplomatic moment to see if there is some way
there's one way to finish the job without boots on the ground, which is, I think, another reason the president could be stalling. If the situation on the ground becomes so dire that the people feel they have no other choice than to rise up, even though the IRGC has machine guns and they threaten that they will kill you, and they do kill people, but there would be a massive loss of life and potentially changeover in regime, who then you could collect the dust from and move forward. I'm wondering if stalling doesn't have something to do with that.
I just know the last time we hit them, we took out a drone factory. We took out, I think, what was called a naval installation. I thought their Navy is done. I mean, the job is not done there in terms of degrading them, and particularly not as a society. And I will tell you one other thing. If we said tomorrow, let them have the Straits of Hormuz, let them have it, and we're leaving, and let them put a toll, guess what? Oil prices will go down.
I don't.
Yes, they will.
Give me the math. Why?
Why?
Because look what's going on now.
No,
there's
nothing
going on
right here. But
because oil.
We don't have a war.
Oil will flow freely through there. The traders
with a toll.
Yeah, with a toll.
But so you have to adjust the economics, and to drill new wells in the United States, you need 69 a barrel.
What do we have?
Add a $10,
Let me ask you this.
toll.
Let me ask you this. What was oil's before this whole thing started?
Oil was in the mid-50s to 60s, right?
Mid-50s.
67.
And
the
now
rig count was going down.
And now, if you want math, we have drilling here. We have Venezuela. Us.
That is 5 years out. There's no chance that's helping.
But that's what futures traders go, 5 years out.
No, they don't.
Yes, it is. It's called futures trading.
The futures are in the high 60s.
But
I just want a simple answer to where's the math that if you put a toll on it, it goes down. Show me where you put $15 on something and the price goes the other direction.
Because people keep throwing, because there'll be so much oil going through, you'll have more supply.
No, you won't, because it doesn't make. We've drilled all our tier 1 rock.
Wait a second. So
where are we getting all the new oil from?
Is there no oil? Is there oil going through there now?
There's oil going through there now, but it was drilled at a lower economic cost.
How much?
20 million barrels a day, right?
How much before?
20 million barrels a day.
So you don't think there'll be more if we open it up?
Not at the lower, not if you jack on and put on a surcharge of $10 to $15 a barrel.
Oh, you don't know that.
Yes, it is. Look, it's an oil business. Jackie, help me here because you're in the oil industry.
I'm thinking about both sides of it.
You don't know they're going to put $15, but if there is open Straits of Hormuz, and let's say they put a $5 toll
Premium,
right? You tell me the oil prices won't go down.
What's going to stop them?
Absurd. It's going to be
It
so
could be
much
absurd, but we can find out.
so much oil supply going through.
Alternative routes are being designated so that you wouldn't have to rely in 5 years on the Strait at all.
By the way, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying the appeasement. You're sitting there and saying, well, the markets will go up and the oil will be down, does not get the job done.
Agree with you on that, 100%.
So while you guys are making up and kissing, I just want to bring up one point here, and that's the Iranian people, because we should be concerned because there's real trouble on the ground there. There's a humanitarian crisis in the making there, and we need to be paying attention to that, doing what we can about that, seriously. I think that could be a very big problem long term.
It's a massive problem, and I always wonder why the Democrats who are worried about everybody else's human rights around the globe somehow look at this and say, oh, well, this is not our problem. This is not one that we want to touch.
The humanitarian problem will only get worse with the mullahs in there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're sitting around talking about Elon Musk, killing people in Liberia because USAID stuff. Guess what? Where the USAID stuff got funneled through? The most corrupt governments in the world. So the money never got to the people. You tell me the mullahs are going to be distributing foreign aid and stuff like that?
They're not.
No way.
They're not. The people need a new government if the people ever want to have an opportunity to live a little bit more freely and even more humanely. I mean, when I heard the stories of what happened in the beginning of the year, when if you weren't dead from the protests, if they hadn't fully finished the job, they went to the hospital and they shot you in the head to make sure that they took care of it.